you know, variations between the samples can be identified, can be interpreted by means of F statistic, which is used in case of ANOVA. And when there is one cause of variation, this is called ANOVA with one-way classified data. Last day's question, you have seen that due to different managers levels, the feedback also differs. As a result, that happens only due to difference in the manager's level. But when the causes of variations among the samples are two, that means more than one are two. In that case, we have to apply ANOVA with two-way classified data procedure. So when we will apply ANOVA with two-way classified data procedure, we'll have two null hypotheses, and obviously we will have two alternative hypotheses. So in the previous day, you have seen that not only previous days, in the earlier cases, we have seen that we have one null hypothesis, one alternative hypothesis. But here, since the causes of variations are more than one, that means in this case there are two causes of variations, that's why it is two-way classified data. But if it is more than two, this is also possible, but this is not possible by this way. And in that case, we require some statistical software packages are available in the, and when the data set are very small, you can do it manually. But when the data sets are huge in number, you can't accommodate, or you can't do it manually. I think in the below pane, you can see the statistical softwares by which you can easily perform statistical test. I hope you can see. So all these are the data. So you can easily understand that we generally do 30, 50, 100 example, but you can see that there are 4,899 observations. 4899 observations. So you can easily understand what a difficult task would be if the observations are like 4,899. That means for near about 4,900. Okay. So in that case, we should use statistical table, statistical softwares, and so many other softwares are available. This is called eViews. This is required for time series analysis. It will be discussed in detail in your semester 4. This is very important in case of also time series analysis. I can show you a microfeed. These are also available. So you can do variance analysis using this type of statistical softwares. Instantly you will get the result, and your task will be only to interpretation. But when you are studying it, so you should know the practical perspective and theoretical aspects also, because if you do it by computer, by using the softwares, then it can be easily done. But you know that even if you feed a very insignificant numbers which is not relevant, in that case also computer will give you some information. So that is not a matter of very use. So most of the times we prefer, or we suggest student to go for theoretical understanding, then go for practical understanding. And the same thing, the same ANOVA will again be taught in your semester 4 examinations. There is research methods. There is a particular paper that is only available for Calcutta University. In that paper, you will again read many aspects which I have already covered. That is hypothesis testing. Obviously, you will require ANOVA. The students who appeared for the first time in the university in the semester-based CBCS system, they told me, sir, your class proved very beneficial in semester 4, because at that moment time was very limited, so it was not possible to discuss ANOVA in detail. So as a result, they actually revised the old paper. So I'll request you all to please learn ANOVA at this moment, because you have time, but in semester 4 will not get enough time. So let us read today's question, because I am not going into detail of the derivation process, because many students are not from science background, so they may not understand. I am just showing you the application purpose, and I will interpret all the results. Now you have seen that Three researchers determine the moisture content of samples of a powder, each man taking a sample from each of four consignments. The results are given below. Perform an analysis of variance on the data and discuss whether there is any significant difference between the consignment or between the researchers. So you can easily see that the question itself asks that whether there is any significant difference between the consignment or whether there is any significant difference between the researchers. So there are two causes of variations here. One is coming due to researchers, another is coming due to consignment, because researchers are given to the task of determining moisture content in the consignments, and there are four consignments. So if uh, it is a just like natural science, so principle should be same wherever it is applied. So if the person draw the particular amount of particular unit of certain thing from each of the consignment, then the moisture content should be same. But in this case, it is not same because it depends on some researchers, their ability, their efficiency, and you can see on the table that moisture content varies consignment to consignment, researcher to researchers. So because it is behavioral aspects, so it depends on sample drawing, depends on the technique. Sample drawing depends on efficiency and scientific method you are using for drawing the sample. So sample may vary. Sample may vary due to the efficiency or inefficiency of the researchers, due to the moisture contents of different types of consignment. Now the question arises whether the moisture content varies because of the consignment or because of the researchers. You can plain and simple you can see that yes, moisture content varies because researcher to researcher these are not same, consignment to consignment these are not same. But the question arises if you look at this only these particular numbers and if you come to the conclusion yes it varies, then I think you are making some mistake because you are not taking the population into consideration. These are the only sample data. So when you will be analyzing with population data, then it will be possible. But in this case, it is sample. If you based on the sample, if you come to the conclusion about population, then I think it is right, not right. It is a very wrong procedure. So how to resolve this situation? I would resolve this situation by doing some analysis of variance or ANOVA. And since there are two causes of variation, so I would like to write ANOVA with two-way classified data. So give the heading ANOVA with two-way classified data. ANOVA with two-way classified data. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Now, since in case of ANOVA, I told there will be two null hypotheses, there will be two alternative hypotheses, not hypotheses, it is hypothesis. So I'll first of all mention first null hypothesis. So instead of writing H naught, I would like to write H naught 1. H naught 1 such that there is no significant difference. There is no significant difference between the researchers in determining the moisture content and sample powder. So you know that null hypothesis does not consider any variation, so it considers that there is no difference. What will be my alternative hypothesis? Here I would like to write alternative hypothesis not H1. You can also write, in that case you have to write H11 because this is the first alternative hypothesis. So instead of that I'll be writing HA1. You know, A is also known as alternative hypothesis or research hypothesis. What will be my alternative hypothesis for this null hypothesis? That at least two researchers differ significantly in determining the moisture content and sample powder. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
I've completed the null hypothesis. Now, second alternative null hypothesis is that H not 2. That means the second one. Oh, sorry, I'm facing some technical problems. So what I have written that has already been deleted. Let me stop my screen sharing. I would like to return within 1 minute. Please bear with me. Please wait for some time because I'm facing some technical problems. So therefore, uh, I hope I'm audible to all of you now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have already done it in day section, so I'm trying to copy from there. Okay. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, what I have written here, I would like to show it to you. Second null hypothesis is the consignment. The consignment. The consignment do not differ significantly in terms of moisture content. The consignment do not differ significantly in terms of moisture content. So what was my second null hypothesis? The consignments do not differ significantly in terms of moisture content. So what should be my second alternative hypothesis? I have written HA2. You can write H22. It is also possible in numerous research articles. If you read, if you get the opportunity to read the research articles, you will see that researchers actually resolved more than two null hypotheses. In some cases, we have seen that 10, 12 alternative and null hypotheses are taken into consideration. So they actually number it in this way: H11, H12, H13, H14 in this way. But you can write also HA2. So in HA2, that means second alternative hypothesis, I'm writing at least two consignments differ significantly in terms of moisture content. At least two consignments differ significantly in terms of moisture content. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm returning to my screen. Here you have seen that I require, if you can remember the last times, I require squares of these observations. I require squares of this observation. So you know 9 square means 81, 12 square means 144. In this way, squares of each observation will be taken. Now, if you take squares of this observation, then you have to take the summation of all this, and then the amount will be very large. In examinations also, the figures may not be two digits. Figure may not be one digit, may not be two digits, may not be three digits. It may be more than three digits or four digits in this way. So if the figures are more than three digits or more than four digits, what you will do? In that case, there is one particular methodology. You can subtract a fixed number from all the observations in the matrix, or you can divide a fixed number from all the observations in the matrix on the assumptions that calculated value f, calculated value of f on the subtracted figure or on the reduced figure, it will be the same. That means, in this case, if I deduct or subtract a fixed number, say for example 10, from each and every observations, in first A1 cell, you will get it is -1. A2 cell, you will get 0. A3 cell, you will get -1. A4 cell, you will get another 0. B1 cell, you will get +2. So in this way, if I deduct a fixed number 10 from each and every observations in the matrix, then the matrix is reduced to some extent. It will have no effect on the F statistics value that will be calculated. One student in the day section asked me, sir, whether only subtraction is allowed. No, I told them division is also allowed, but multiplication and addition is not allowed, because you know, in case of multiplication and in case of addition, instead of it is reduced, it will be additive. So as a result, there will be no benefit for that purpose. So you can deduct, or you can subtract, you can divide, you may not do anything. In that case, answer would be the same. I request you all, please do not ask me the repeated questions before examination or day before examination. Sir, you have done this and the books have done this in this way. So I'm again and again telling, if you have attended the class, I'm clearly mentioning, if you deduct, the answer will be same, conclusion will be same. If you do not deduct, the conclusion and answer will be same. Why we are deducting, why we are subtracting? Only for our own convenience. Only for our own convenience. So in this case, if I consider this as Yij, this is Yij, I means row, J means number of column. If I say this is Ya1, if I consider this is Ya2, if I consider this is YB1, if I consider this is YC1, this is YC2, then what I will write? I will deduct or I will subtract 10 from Yij, because this is I means number of rows, that is A, column is J. So this is Yij means for this cell Yij is A1, for this cell Yij means A2, Ya2, this cell Yij means Ya3, in this way. So what I will write, I have already written, you can see. Now each observation is reduced by 10 such that Xij is equal to Yij minus 10. Now for each observation is reduced by 10 such that Xij is equal to Yij minus 10. What is I? I is the row, J is the column. Okay. So what is my revised value? Xij. Xij is the given Yij value minus 10. Have you understood? Is there any question?
No, sir.
Now, I have, in order to clarify it, I have already written computed values of F statistics are assumed to be exactly same for both X and Y. Are assumed to be same, exactly same for both X and Y. That means, what does it mean? It means that even if you do not subtract, the values will be same, conclusion will be same, answer will be same if you have done it correctly. If you have done it incorrectly, then obviously it will not be same, even if you subtract, even if you not subtract. I hope I'm able to make you all understand. Okay, shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now after
Yes, sir.
subtraction, what is my reduced matrix becomes? What is the, now after subtraction I told you this will be 9 minus 10 minus 1, 10 minus 10 0, 9 minus 10 minus 1, 10 minus 10 0, 12 minus 10 2, 11 minus 10 1, 9 minus 10 minus 1. So in this way, after subtraction of only only 10 from each and every observations now become Xij. It is now Yij. Yij values are given here. All these are Yij values. But I am converting it as Xij. What is Xij? Yij minus 10. Now, the reduced matrix now becomes this. I think you can do it. I have already mentioned. You can copy it. I have written consignment. You can follow your own procedure of disclosure, because in accounting, disclosure is considered as one of the most important aspect. There is one particular convention also. So you may follow table, you may not follow table. Due to save my time at the time of delivering lectures, I have just followed this one. In examination, if you only show this is sufficient. You may draw the table in this way also. There will be no problem at all. We generally do not give any marks for table, but if it is not a very if you do not write anything, and if it is very clumsy in nature, so it creates inconveniences to evaluate the script. So in that case, there will be mark deductions. I hope you can see the total. Why I have written TI not? Because this is the row total, keeping column X fixed, column total as 0 fixed. So why this is T not J? This is the total of column keeping row as fixed, because here I am taking only these rows are kept fixed. Only I am taking column total. Here I am taking the column total. I am taking column total. I am taking column total. Here I am taking row total, keeping column fixed. So in this way, I have calculated everything. I hope you can see it. Have you copied it?
No, sir.
Now I have calculated T. That means the total of the sum total, which is the row total and column total. If you write sum total, that is capital T is equal to 6. Row wise it is 6, column wise it is also 6. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Now
Yes, sir.
we require squares of these observations. What squares I require? Do I require these squares? No, these squares, these values are now valueless. These values, these observations are now becoming valueless. Why? Because I am not going to use it. Because I have reduced it by subtracting the value of by 10. So these figures are more vital. So I am taking squares of this observation. What square mean 1? 0 square means 0. Minus 1 square means 1. 2 square means 4. So I have already drawn it. You can write it down. Squares of observations. Please write it properly so that I may commit one mistake. So you can write it properly. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Shall I proceed further?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now next, as per the previous day's example, we require correction factor. And I told this is very important task. Please do not consider anyone answer. You himself or herself calculate it on your own. This correction factor is the most important one. If you commit any mistake in calculating correction factor, then each and everything will be incorrect because it is required in all the cases. So correction factor is very vital. It is actually required for corrections. So correction factor calculation is the most important task. In the previous semester, that means in the previous year's semester one question was given. That question was very easy because online examination. Even if I said a very tough question, the answer would be ready, I know. So it gives a very pain to the genuine students who do not take any private tuitions. So as a result, we are not here to make the vivisections of the students. So therefore, we have said a very easy question in the previous semester. But what we have seen that the nature of mistakes are same. Almost 90% students committed the same mistake. One or two students correctly did it actually because of the fact that probably from where the answer was given, the correction factor was wrongly written. As a result, each and every answer is totally different from others. So as a result, there will be problem. So please be careful about correction factor. So in this case, what will be the correction factors? How to write the correction factor? It is the t square. That means sum total squares divided by p into q. What is p? P is the number of rows and q is the number of columns. Last day, if you can remember, I have assumed m and n. You can also write m and n. You can also write a and b. I have no problem. But whatever you will write in examination, please specifically mention it. It is not that I am writing P and Q, you are bound to write P and Q. I am writing M and N, you are bound to write M and N. There is no hard and fast rule like this. In economics, obviously, there is some rule, but at the time of using different types of nomenclatures, but in statistics, you can use provided you have given the proper terminology. So you can see that t value was 6, so 6 square divided by number of rows. How many rows are there? 3 rows are there and 4 columns are there. So my correction factor now becomes 3. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Then
sir.
after calculating correction factor, I would like to know what is the variations coming due to researchers. What is the variation coming due to researchers? So I would like to calculate sum of squares due to researchers. That means if I assume researchers are the factor A, if I assume it is factor A of variation and consignments are the factor B of variation, so I would like to write sum of squares of factor A. So in the next stage, I would like to calculate sum of squares of factor A. you can easily write it. Sum of squares. So sorry, before that I would like to calculate the total sum of squares. I forgot to mention this one. Total sum of squares, because sum of squares factor comes after total sum of squares. So I would like to calculate what is the total variation. What is the total variation? Total sum of squares. You have seen that I goes from 1 to 3. I have written. Why? Because there are 3 rows. J goes from 1 to 4. Why? Because there are 4 columns. So xij square. Xij square. So I will be taking the square of the observation. I have already created one table. Minus correction factor. So I have taken the squares value 1010 4111, then 1404. Please may write this one also. This was there in the I forgot to write another one. Minus 3 is the correction factor. So I got 50. You can correctly check it. It will be obviously 50. So what is my total sum of square? Total sum of square is the squares of the observations, squares of each observation, summation of squares of each observation minus correction factor. Plain and simple. What is the total sum of squares? TSS. It is the sum of the squares of the observations minus correction factors. Plain and simple. If you forget the formula, I goes from 1 to 3, J goes from 1 to 4. Instead of I goes from 1 to 3, you can write I goes from 1 to P, J goes from 1 to Q, then Xij square minus correction factors. It means that summation of all squares of the observations minus correction factors. Okay, I have got total variation is 15. Out of 15, some variations are coming due to researches, and some variations are coming due to consignments. Why? Some variations, 15 is the total variations. So in a particular class, there may be some problems. So you will understand that some problems are created by the students of that particular section, and some problems are created by students of outside of the sections. Now I am trying to calculate out of total variance, the variance which is coming due to researchers. I am numbering it as factor A. You may write it as factor X. You may write it as factor Y. You can write it also factor R, because researcher is considered as R. But whatever you write it accordingly. Sum of squares due to researchers. That means variations due to researchers. I have written sum of squares due to researchers. I have mentioned this as factor A. So I have written SS or within bracket A. Please carefully note this formula. This is very important one. I hope you can understand it. This is very important one. I divided by Q, that means I divided by column, summation I goes to P, T naught I square minus correction factor. You will say, sir, whenever you are taking row, why you are dividing it by column? I am trying to take the average of the row total and average of the column total. When I am taking the average of the row total, it will be divided by number of columns. Whenever I am taking average of the column total, it will be divided by number of rows. So I have taken when it is P, that means when it is number of rows, I am taking the square of the summation of the squares. I will be dividing it by number of columns. So be careful. How many columns are there? 1 by 4 columns are there. I goes from 1 to 3 because I told you P is equal to 3. T naught I means I am taking the row total, keeping column total as fixed, minus correction factors. So you will see that I have taken 1 divided by 4 columns are there. I am taking only row total. Row total is minus 2 square plus 3 square plus 5 square. I am taking plus because this is summation. Minus 3. I am getting 6.5. Am I clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now next I will like to write out of 15, I have got 6.5 is coming due to researchers. Then out of 15, some factors are also coming due to difference in the consignments. So how much is coming from difference in the consignment? That is known as factor V. So sum of squares due to consignment, SSB I have written. So you have seen that in case of it is P, it is Q, and in this case it is Q, so it should have been divided by P. So 1 divided by P, summation J goes from 1 to Q, T not J, because I am now taking column total. So I am fixing the rows total. So it is T not J square minus correction factors. How many columns are there? 4 columns are there, but 3 rows are there. So I goes from, this is not I, this will be J, sorry, wrongly written as J goes from 1 to 4, okay? T naught J square divided by correction factors. And how many J's are there? You can understand 1 by 3 square, sorry, 1 by 3 columns are there, rows are there, and you have taken the column total, 2 square plus 3 square minus 2 square plus 3 square minus 3. And it will get, you will get 5.5767. So total variation is coming 15, out of which due to researchers and due to consignment, it is near about 12. It is near about 12 to 13. So out of 15, 13 is coming due to researchers and 13 is coming due to consignment. So total researchers and consignment 13 variants out of 15. Then where from these another 2 variances are coming? These 2 variances are coming due to error. Due to error. Why? Because you are working under the sample environment. You cannot avoid error. This is known as sampling error. You have seen that in your 3rd chapter of module 1, another chapter called sampling theory. There are 2 types of error. So sampling error and non-sampling error. Sampling error is not avoidable. Have you done the sampling chapter? Avronil, have you done sampling chapter?
Yes, sir.
Is it over?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. So your probability theory, theoretical probability distribution and sampling chapter is over. And estimation chapter, is it over or not? Not over.
So, sir has just started it. Theory of estimation.
Theory of estimation, only just stated. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so next are due to sum of squares due to errors. So SSE is actually calculated as total sum of squares minus sum of squares due to factor A minus sum of squares due to factor B. It is easy. So what is sum of squares due to error? Some factors are also responsible. Variation is coming due to error. That is only 2.83. Total variation minus variation coming due to factor A minus variation coming due to factor B. Or you can write it total sum of squares minus bracket open this plus this bracket close. The answer will be same. Is it okay? Now I have got. Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Now what I will do, next I will tabulate all the figures. Tabulate all the figures because I have calculated each and everything. I have calculated total sum of squares. I have calculated correction factor. I have calculated sum of squares due to factor A, sum of squares due to factor E, and sum of squares due to error. Now I'd like to tabulate it. So you just tabulate it in 1-way, 2-way classified data. You tabulate it. ANOVA table 2-way classified data. This is most important. This is most important. So first is required sources or variations. Second one is sum of squares. Third column is degrees of freedom, DF, I've written. You will write degrees of freedom. Fourth column is mean of squares. And last column is divided into two parts, F statistic. First one is calculated F, and and the last one is F critical or F tabulated. So first one is sources of variations, sum of squares, degrees of freedom, mean of squares. Then another last column is divided into two parts, F statistic. First is calculated value of F and tabulated value of F. So first of all, I am writing between the researchers. That means variations coming due to researchers. I have already calculated variations due to factor A, that is SSA. I have written 6.5. What will be the degrees of freedom? How many rows are there? How many rows are there? 3 rows are there. Because you have seen that A, B, C researchers, they are aligned row wise. Consignment are aligned column wise. So obviously these degrees of freedom for 3 rows, there will be loss of 1 degrees of freedom. Okay. So for 3 rows is there will be loss of 1 degree of freedom. So 3 minus 1 is actually 2 is the degree of freedom. So what is mean of squares due to factor A? MS due to factor A is 6.5. That means sum of squares due to factor A divided by the P minus 1. That means degrees of freedom 2. 6.5 divided by 2, it is given to 3.25. 3.25. Now come to second factor. Please do not copy this one. Between the consignment, SSB, I have written it already. You have already calculated. Third one, 5.67. How many columns are there? Because consignments are actually aligned column wise. So there are 4 consignments. So Q minus 1, 4 minus 1, that is 3. So what is MSB? MSB is equal to 5.67 divided by 3. I am getting 1.89. I am getting 1.89. Now next, I require total. Total is actually total sum of squares. Total sum of squares I got 15. Total sum of squares I got 15. What is the degrees of freedom? Total row into column. Row 3 rows are there, 4 columns are there. So for total rows and column, there will be loss of 1 degree of freedom. So for 12 rows and columns minus 1 degree of freedom, so this will be 11. Okay. Now after getting the total sum of squares, you just try to calculate the sum of squares due to error. I have already calculated sum of squares due to error is 2.83. How the degrees of freedom will be calculated? Last day I told you that these minus all these, you will get P minus 1 into Q minus 1. P minus 1 into Q minus 1. 3 rows are there, 4 columns are there. So 3 minus 1 into 4 minus 1. So it is 6. Now SSE is also important in this case because this is two-way classified data. Last day we did not consider the second one, factor V. So you have got only one F statistics, but today you will get only 2 step F statistics. So how MSE is calculated? It is SSE divided by degree of freedom of SSE, that is P minus 1 into Q minus 1. I am getting 0.47. Now come to the F statistics for factor A. I think you can see at 5% level of significance with 2,6 degrees of freedom. Why 2,6? Because this is 2 and this is 6 degrees of freedom. Why I am taking this 2 and this 6? Because this is actually 3.25 whole divided by 0.47. So I am taking 3.25, 0.47. So I am getting 6.91. Now F statistics for factor B, this one at 5% degrees of freedom with 3,6 degrees of freedom. Why 3,6? Because 3 is the degrees of freedom for consignment wise sum of squares and 6 is the errors degrees of freedom. So 3,6. So I've taken 1.89 whole divided by 0.47. I've got 4.02. I hope you can understand it clearly. So what values I have got? I have got plain and simple two values. One is calculated F statistics for difference in researchers, and another is calculated F statistics for difference due to consignment. Is it clear to all of you? Now 5.14 I have got, where from I have got? In question paper it is given. In question paper it is given F value for 5% level of significance with 2,6 degrees of freedom is 5.14. Where from I am getting 2.6? 2,6. This is 2 and this is 6. So this is obviously for researchers. And I am getting a 5% level of significance with 3,6 degrees of freedom. So this is 3, this is 6. So it is obviously for consignment. In examinations, I am telling you, this will not be provided beneath the question paper. So a long list of values will be given to all of you. What is your task? Your task would be to select and choose the perfect one. Your task will be to select the perfect one and apply in the particular critical value. So you have seen that. Now what you need to know, you need to do is compare this one and this one, compare this one and this one. Now can you tell me, for first one, consider this first one, and this is second one. Consider this first one, 6.91 and 5.14. Whether my calculated value exceeds the tabulated value, that means the critical value for first factor, that means for researchers. Does it exceed?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Someone
Yeah,
is
yeah,
telling
sir.
no, sir. Someone is
No,
someone
sir.
is
No,
telling
sir.
no, sir.
Exit করছে second এটাতে করে
So that means that F statistics, that is variations due to researchers, exceeds the tabulated value. Am I clear? So what will be the conclusion? Can you tell me?
So null hypothesis is getting rejected.
Yes, since the calculated value of F statistic exceeds the tabulated value of F statistic, that means null hypothesis is rejected. That means there is significant difference between the researchers in determining the moisture content and the sample powder. What I said? So please write, since the calculated value of F, within bracket write 6.91, since the calculated value of F for researchers, specifically mentioned, since the calculated value of F for researchers, within bracket you write 6.91, exceeds the tabulated value of F, exceeds the tabulated value of F, within bracket 5.14. I'm not writing, please write, exceeds the tabulated value of F, within bracket 5.14. Please do not forget to write at 5% level of significance, at 5% level of significance with bracket open, with bracket open 2,6 bracket close degrees of freedom, with 2,6 degrees of freedom, comma, the null hypothesis is rejected. The null hypothesis is rejected. The null hypothesis is rejected. And it is concluded that, that there are significant differences between the researchers. That there are significant differences between the researchers. That there are significant differences between the researchers. There are significant differences between the researchers. Is it over? Have you written?
Yes, sir.
So first one is over. Now come to conclusion about the second one. So change the paragraph. If you look the second value, calculated value is 4.02 and tabulated value is 4.76. Does it exceed or does not exceed?
Does not exceed.
Does not exceed means the value remains in India. It does not fall in Pakistan. Okay. So that means this value 4.02 is less than 4.76. So my conclusion is null hypothesis is accepted. What does it mean? It means that alternative hypothesis is rejected. So what would be my conclusion? My conclusion is that there is no significant differences between the consignment. That means variations are not coming due to consignments. Variations are coming due to researchers. Okay, so right, change paragraph. Since the calculated value of F for consignments, since the calculated value of F for consignment, bracket open, within bracket show 4.02, since the calculated value of F for consignment 4.02 is less than the tabulated value of F is less than the tabulated value of F is less than the tabulated value of F within bracket 4.76 bracket close at 5% level of significance, at 5% level of significance with bracket open 3,6 degrees of freedom, with 3,6 bracket close degrees of freedom, with 3,6 degrees of freedom, comma, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. We fail to reject the null hypothesis. Full stop. Therefore, the moisture contents of 4 consignments. Therefore, the moisture contents of 4 consignments. Therefore, the moisture contents of 4 consignments may not be different from one another. Therefore, the moisture contents of 4 consignments may not be different from one another. May not be different from one another. Moisture contents of 4 consignments may not be different from one another. I hope I'm able to make you all understand. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes.
Is there any question? Any question?
No, sir.
So if there is no question, formally this is the last class of statistics. Formally this is the last class of statistics. I'm not going to take any other statistics class. So next I will obviously take the another classes of direct tax. It is not over. Few chapters are 2 or 3 topics are yet to cover. So I'd like to cover that. But statistics chapters are formally closed. So I've covered 2 topics. One is chapter number 5 in module 2 and chapter number 6 in module 2, hypothesis testing and analysis of variance. I hope you have understood well. To the extent possible, I have tried to make you all understand. To my limited knowledge, I have also disseminated the information to all of you. So far, I understand. So far, my knowledge goes. So if you have faced any problem, the mistakes are also of mine. So you can contact me for any type of problem. My phone numbers you know very well, because this is I'm writing it for the time being. In case any problem, you can message me. It is there. My mail ID I'm writing here. You can also mail me in case any problem. But please do not write anything before 1 day or before 2 days of the examination. Please do not ask me for any suggestion, because with the question setter cannot give you any suggestion. The topics what I have covered, now that becomes the syllabus for this current year, for this current semester. If you have any question, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll request you to leave one by one. And I again request you, before I leave, please leave. Otherwise, you will not get attendance. Your attendance will not be automatically recorded If I leave and then you leave, before I leave, you have to read. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Now
দুটো
many
question
students, yes, okay. Many students did not actually did not get all my class because of the fact that many students took late admissions. At present moment, as per the directions given by the higher authority, I can't take any other additional classes. But if time permits, because we have more than not more than 1 month, near about 1 month for the semester 1 examination. So if I can accommodate classes, I will try to take some few classes for master classes for statistics, because obviously yes, few students are facing problems for understanding the integrated issues of statistics. Yes, tell me ask me the question.
স্যার ওই যে 10 ভ্যালুটা আপনি ডিডাক্ট করলেন না প্রত্যেকটা ভ্যালুর থেকে,
Yes.
ওটা 10 কেন স্যার? অন্য যে কোনো ভ্যালু নিতে পারতেন
You can
তাহলে।
take anything because values are close to 12 or 9. That's why I've taken 10. You can deduct 8, you can deduct 10, you can deduct 11, you can deduct 12. There'll be no problem at all.
স্যার মানে টেবিলে যে ভ্যালুটা হাইয়েস্ট থাকবে সেটা অবধি নিতে পারবো ডিডাক্ট করার জন্য।
That is not the problem. You can take the more values also, but what values you will take, that should be convenient to all of you, because instead of creating convenience, if it becomes a matter of inconvenience, then there'll be no use of this. Okay, so I have deducted, I have subtracted the value because only to reduce the matrix, only to reduce the observations. But even if you do not reduce it, say for example, instead of 10, 12, something like that, if it is given 2400, 3600, okay, 4800, what you will do? Will you deduct 10, 12, or will you deduct 200, 2000 or 3000? In that case, it will be better to take a division of 1200.
Yeah,
So if
yes.
you divide it by 1200, if all the observations are divisible by 1200, then you will get only 3, 4, 1, 2 like this. Okay, so division and subtraction is possible, but multiplication and addition is not allowed. I think I am able to make you all understand.
স্যার মানে
Yes.
কনভেনিয়েন্স বুঝে আমাকে বুঝতে হবে যে সাবট্রাক্ট করব নাকি ডিভাইড করব, কোন ভ্যালু দিয়ে করব।
Yes, obviously.
আরেকটা হলো
Based
স্যার,
based on the practice, you can understand it. Even if you do not subtract, there will be no problem, I told you, but it will take time to complete the solutions or to complete the answer.
স্যার আরেকটা হচ্ছে ওই যে অল্টারনেটিভ হাইপোথিসিস যে আপনি ফর্মুলেশন করলেন না, ওখানে
Yes.
দুটোতেই লিখলেন at least 2 consignments বা at least 2 researchers, বা ভেরিয়েশন
At least to have written that I can reject the null hypothesis if 2 researcher or 2 consignment varies. Okay, because
Sir,
it is not required that the 3 consignments should vary, or 2 or 3 researchers should vary. If 2 varies, actually if the 2 researchers vary, if 2 consignment vary, then I can also reject the null hypothesis, because 1 researcher cannot vary, 1 consignment cannot vary, because in order to vary you require at least 2. Have you
Yes, sir.
understood?
ইয়েস
If there
কম্প্যারিজনটা
is, obviously if there is no comparison, then how you can vary? When you will say, sir, I have got higher marks from someone, so someone is there, or you are more fairer than someone, or you are more darker than someone, so someone is required. If there is no someone, then how you are fairer, how you are darker, how you are higher? Higher, lower means there is something that you are comparing. So these two figures are there. So I have written at least, but it does not mean that for all types of questions the same null hypothesis statement and alternative hypothesis statements that will be required. It may vary also, depending on the question patterns, depending on the questions, it may vary. I request you all to solve a good number of questions so that before examinations it become more habituated, because it will be given, say for example, for a 8 marks question or for a 6 marks question, and I think many of you have understood that for the time management purpose, because physical mode examination, if it would have been a physical mode examination, it is